Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here with the Get to Know Ya book tag. This tag was created by Phoebe from Paper Chains, and I will link her original video down below. I was tagged by the fabulous Olivia from Read by Liv, and I will also link her channel down below. Question number 1 is, what is your favorite book? The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. I just find it to be one of the most powerful and moving and well-written stories I've ever read, and in addition to all of the important topics it covers, I feel like the characters are people who really stick with me, and I think about them to this day, even though it has been several years since I read this book. And this book was also just such an important part of my reading life. I feel like this book really reminded me of how powerful a well-told story can be, because I was just blown away by how much this book meant to me. For me, it definitely had a huge impact on my life and on me as a person and as a reader. Question number 2 is, what was your favorite book 5 years ago? I would have probably said 5 years ago that my favorite book was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Now, I don't love this book any less. I just have found some other books that I love as much, and this is still a phenomenal book, and I'm sure you know what it's about. I feel like this is one of the classics where that title is well deserved. I don't feel like this book is overhyped at all. I guess I can see why it would put some people off, but Jane Austen is definitely an author who I just grow to have more and more respect for as I get older and as I reread her work. Question number 3 is your favorite duology or trilogy or series. I can't really pick just one, so I'm just going to go with a favorite trilogy that I finished recently, and that is the Graceling trilogy by Kristen Cashore. This is the third and last book, which is Bitter Blue. I just love this fantasy series. I love the main characters and how every woman that we follow in each of the books is so strong and admirable in her own way. It really shows the many different ways that you can be a strong and important person, especially as a woman, and I just love the story and the growth that the characters experience, and I feel like this is such a strong example of exploring sexism, racism, and related issues in a fantasy world in a way that we can still apply to our world. I think Kristen Cashore does a phenomenal job of that. Number 4 is, what was the last book you read? And at this point, that is Spindlefire by Lexa Hillier. This is a sort of Sleeping Beauty retelling, and I will be talking more about this in my wrap-up, which is coming soon, but a lot of mixed thoughts about this one. Number 5 is, what was the last book of poetry you read? And for me, that was Goblin Market and Other Poems by Christina Rossetti. I really loved a few individual poems in this book. I think if I had read these poems more spaced out rather than reading them within a few days, I think I would have had more standout poems for me, but I definitely love the title poem, Goblin Market, and I also really love the Cuckoo's Calling. Is that even what it's called? That was featured in J.K. Rowling's first mystery novel. I really love that poem as well, and I do like some elements of the style that she uses. Number 6 is, what book most influenced your life? So I could have gone with several different answers for that one. There is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett, which is my favorite classic novel and definitely the book that first got me excited about reading when I was young. I could go with Harry Potter because that was such a formative series. I could even go with The Book Thief because of what I said about how it really changed my perspective, but instead I decided to go with a book, or rather series, that influenced my life in a way that I really only noticed when I got older, and that is the Artemis Fowl series by Owen Colfer. So these books have a lot of elements that are just plain fun or that are good storytelling. Like, I love the characters, I love the plot. I really love that this was a blend of sort of science fiction and fantasy. This is definitely one of the first fantasy series that I remember reading, along with Harry Potter, of course, and the Chronicles of Narnia. But the things that really stuck with me about the series, and the things that I didn't really realize stuck with me until now, is the incredible character arc of Artemis Fowl II, the title character. He just has the most incredible growth, and it's done so subtly and well. I just really consider him one of the best examples of character development I have ever read. I still get so emotional when I think about how far Artemis went, like how far he had to come from the person he was at the beginning and how very different he is at the end, but how he doesn't feel like a different character. He just feels like a character who went through some hard things and really changed and met those challenges. And on a more practical note, I also think that this series, and Artemis in particular, was pretty formative in my love for a well-done redemption arc, or sort of anti-hero, villain, questionable protagonists. Because Artemis definitely does some things that are questionable, morally speaking, but I love him so much, and I feel like that really influenced me as a reader and a person because it drew me to stories where characters go through a lot of change, and I think it also made me more open-minded to people changing. Also, if you love Prince Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I just finished recently, then I think you would love Artemis as a character as well. Number 7 is Book That Made You Ugly Cry. For that one, I am going with Drown by Esther Dalseno. This is a Little Mermaid retelling that is much closer to the original Hans Christian Andersen tale than to the Disney version. This book is definitely not a happily ever after type fairy tale, but that isn't to say that it's all depressing either. There are some beautiful moments of hope and love and self-sacrifice and just human nature, and how even creatures or characters that are not human can have emotions and can have desires and dreams and hope. And all of those sad and beautiful things together definitely made this a book that caused me to ugly cry quite a bit after I finished it. But don't let that put you off reading it, because it was one of my favorite books of last year, so definitely worth it. Number 8 is Book That Made You Laugh, and that is actually a much more difficult thing to accomplish than a book making me cry. And my answer for that one is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I don't even know how to explain why this book made me laugh. I just remember reading this book and actually laughing out loud by myself, alone in my room, because something that the narrator said was so relatable. Number 9 is Character You'd Like to Be for the Day, and I'm gonna do kind of a throwback and go with Emily Winsnap from the Tales of Emily Winsnap series by Liz Kessler. I think that's the author. I loved those books when I was younger. Those are all about this half-human, half-mermaid girl named Emily Winsnap, and I would just love to be a mermaid for a day. Maybe more than a day, but I definitely would love to be Emily, because that's just one of my dreams, is experiencing what it's like to be a mermaid. And honestly, some of her like mermaid classes that she has to go to sounded really fun too, so I would love to be a mermaid for a while. Number 10 is A Book That Was So Good You Dreamt About It. I don't tend to dream about books very often, and unfortunately when I do, they're usually bad dreams, but I do remember having some very strong, interesting, like fun dreams about the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. I try not to pick Harry Potter for tag questions too much because I feel like it's sort of an obvious answer for me, but I specifically remember reading or rereading the series at some point and having a dream where I was hanging out with Hermione and Harry and possibly Ron, and there was a treehouse. I don't know why, but I remember it was a fun time. Number 11 is A Book You DNF'd. I'm going to go with Brightly Woven by Alexandra Bracken. I still have not read an Alexandra Bracken novel at this point because I picked up that one because it seemed like the most appealing story to me. I could not even get past the second page of that book. Something about the style I just could not get into. I wasn't interested in the storyline. I was trying to force myself to read it, and I just couldn't do it. So I still have not read a novel by Alexandra Bracken. And I've heard a couple of people recently saying that like they just couldn't get into her writing, and I guess that's true for me too at this point. And finally, question number 12 is what book are you most excited to read? And at the moment, I think that is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. This is a really dark Little Mermaid retelling, and as you can probably tell by my thoughts on Drown by Esther Dalseno, those are just some magic words for me. Okay everybody, so that was the Get to Know Ya book tag. Thank you so much Olivia for tagging me, and I am also going to tag a few people. Hopefully you guys haven't already done this tag. I'm going to tag Allie from Allie M Books, Danny from Danny Buxton, Michaela from My Book Self, Miriam from Between Lines and Life, and Laura from Paperback Winter. If you guys want to do this tag, I am officially tagging you, and I am also officially tagging anybody else who sees this video and who wants to do the tag. I will see you guys soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!